Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
I can't eat, man. I'll get groggy and everything else starts happening.
I hear
As
you.
you can see, I feel like I'm swimming with the fishes right now.
You are swimming with the fishes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Where's Kamryn? Where are you? You're
Hello?
hiding.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I definitely rather look at your mug than you now.
I get it. You don't want to be on your screen with the old man. I get it.
I don't blame you.
We're all
But you
old
do
men.
elevate the
We
game
all
if
have
you are,
daughters,
so.
so we all understand. So
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be with their dads, eh? Like, seriously.
I'll let her answer that question.
That's why she's on the show. That's what we're going to dig up, Randy.
All right.
Mm.
You
Oh,
might
holds
have
barred, I
lots
love
of
it.
Needing therapy.
It'd be good for her to let it out. I can't say anything.
You know what we have to work out, Kamryn, is like a safe word. So if you need us to like drop the old man or put him on mute for a second or any
Just give us the cue.
I'm a big boy. I can handle it. Don't worry, guys.
How are you guys?
Good.
It's been a minute since we talked to you.
Yes, it has.
Well, I thought we would
Right.
see you at the show, but you didn't go to see it
No.
your face.
He didn't.
So,
You guys didn't go.
No,
Yeah.
there's a couple of reasons why we didn't go. One was, so me and Kamryn talked. We had a plan. Okay, we'll go if our distributor has a booth, we'll set one up, and see what customers are out there, and then at the same time, I can go around and meet the vendors and see whatever retailers are in the area. What happened was our distributor didn't really get a booth, and then on top of that, I looked at the kind of last minute, so I was still thinking about going to walk the show. I take Kamryn with us, but because of the cost and everything and where the economy is, I'm like, you know what? I think it's more important that I just stay behind and focus on what we're doing here in the West and get geared up for 2024. Because me as a distributor being on the East, I have no business there except to meet my vendors.
Right.
And so how do I justify the cost? I just couldn't justify it.
I think
That makes sense.
I mean, not to get all sciencey about it, but I do think that's something that our industry doesn't necessarily think about, right? Because you get to moments where everyone goes, "Well, you got to be there." Why do I got to be there, right? Like, I get it, So once upon a time, if you weren't there, you wouldn't be able to see anybody. But that's not the case now either, right? I look at us. There's four of us on this call. It's not that hard. And so you kind of go, yeah, like there are moments where, you really do have to think about what the return is for you, right? Because they're not cheap shows, right? Like travel is not cheap, hotels in Toronto
Hotels
for
are
God's sake,
$400
are not
a night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Flights are expensive. And then you also got to look at your business. As a distributor who's predominantly focused in the West is probably the easier show for you to do. Yes, it's important to go to the show. You'd see your vendors. But like you said, if you're not drumming up retail business per se, which is what your focus would be, or trying to acquire new brands, like for you specifically, it probably makes no sense to do both. Potentially anyway, right?
Well, yeah, so if I look at Nationwide, Nationwide could have gone as a distributor and walked around looking for new brands. But if in today's market, if you look at it, anyone that's in Ontario is going to be looking for a broker to get them in the West.
Right.
Well, guess who they're going to call? A guy like me. Now, as a manufacturer with What the Flower and West Canada, we could have got a booth, set ourselves up, been there, got some exposure, but then I got to figure out, okay, how am I going to get to these people? Do I bring another distributor on, layer of the margin for them? What's the retail going to be? Oh, can I find a co-packer out there? That you need time for, and I just didn't have the time right now.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
just Kamryn, because she's in school, so I have to basically ship her back by Sunday. Like, hey, get on a plane, you got to go because you got to go to class. I'm going to stay behind and see if I can go find a co-packer. Well, do I have enough business to do that? No, I don't think we do.
Yeah.
Right.
I got it.
No, that's fair. That makes total sense. At least you thought it through. I mean, to Phil's point, I think what happens with a lot of people, a lot of shows, it's just you sign up and go to everything. And I don't think you need to do that. I think you can be a lot more clinical, a lot more surgical, and pick the shows that really and truly make sense for you. It's not like you're abandoning CHFA. You'll do here because here makes a lot more sense for you and your business. At this point, maybe 2 years, 3 years, you need to be at both. I don't know.
Yeah, it just depends on what I'm looking to do, what hat we're going to wear. Right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, whatever Kamryn says with West Canada with the flower, well, that's a different story.
Exactly. Well, I'm assuming that's why the boss is on the show with us, right? Because we're going to figure out, really what's really happening in the world of Nationwide.
No, what's what?
Not Randy's BS, like the truth.
See, she laughed.
I love it. Kenny, you want to do an intro?
Yeah, sure. So today we have on Randy Sihota and his daughter, Kamryn. I've known Randy for, I don't know, probably 20 years or so.
Yep.
He's owner, CEO, Big Cheese, well, except when Kamryn's on the show, for Nationwide, or a distributor out in my neck of the woods. Carry a multitude of natural health brands and alternatives for you to purchase and play with. Always, we've had Randy on the show. This will be the second time I think we've had Randy on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really excited to see since the last time where things are going, how you're doing. Since the last show, I don't think Kamryn was actually involved yet. I think it was probably a couple months after, like around CHFA time. So it was really intriguing for Phil and I to talk about how families work together, and father is even more interesting to some degree because we both have daughters too, and it's always interesting the dynamics on that and how Kamryn's finding it and what. I guess I'd like to even know how are you guys making this work? What are the visions of one versus the other? And for you, Randy, specifically, because you worked with your dad, who's a whole different beast than you, and you have a different relationship with your daughter than you would have had. Like, just the dynamics of the family to me are fascinating.
Yeah, really interesting.
Three generations.
I just love. I this is so cool because 3 generations and all different.
Yes.
So I'm dying to hear the story. So the next 45 or so, you two take over and take us through this journey. Kamryn, we'll send you for counseling if you need it later. But we'll work on one part at a time.
Wait, is the reason she's not on camera because you have her sweeping floors somewhere?
No.
Is that what's happening?
You can ask her where she is. I honestly at this moment I do not know where she is. She might be at home. She might be at school.
Who knows?
She could be at the gym pro. I don't know where she is.
I'm joking. Don't feel like you. But
I'm not.
Kamryn, do you want to tell us where you are? Or is this
Yeah, I'm at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So I'll shut up. I promise not to crack too many more jokes.
Well, it's all good. So you guys can ask, and then she'll answer. If you need me to jump in, I'll jump in. So,
Kamryn,
what do you guys want to know?
Because we know a bit about your dad's story.
Yeah.
Randy, you should Randy, you do this. Tell us a little bit about you. Keep it tight because people do know you. Maybe introduce your daughter, but I'd love to hear. Then let your daughter have some of this play. Let's see where it goes.
Okay, we all know about Nationwide Natural Foods. We all know what if you listen to that previous podcast, you can hear the whole story. So let's fast forward to 2019. I started a company called West Canada Foods, which is organic, gluten-free oats. And the whole idea behind that was I was trying to give people an option for a good product, a quality product at a reduced cost, which I could sell through Nationwide Natural Foods to build a brand in the Western provinces, slowly get to the East. As things progressed, Kamryn, of course, got an interest into it. And she was like, I was trying to get into the business in some shape or form with Nationwide. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because when you got 2 generations already in there, my father and myself, you bring in the third. The thinking of the 3rd generation is very different than the 2nd and way different than the 1st. Right, Kamryn? Am I wrong or am I wrong?
Oh yeah, that's
Spot on.
And being in an office where it's not a young crowd, it's really hard to get motivated to do some things because it gets repetitious. So when we started West Canada, I asked her, "Hey, try these oats. Tell me what you think." She fell in love with them, and the next thing you know, it's her story.
Wow. Okay. So Kamryn, take over the story. So tell us about West Canada and why you're in it, what you do in it.
Yeah. So I'll backtrack a little bit to the nationwide bit because I think it's super funny that like trying to work in an office, especially today, is like extremely difficult because it's just silence and I like can't work like that. So I tried working at Nationwide for a little bit, didn't really work out. So just kept going to school, and it's so hard to figure out like what you're going to get a job in because I decided to do my degree in anthropology, which is like kind of like a dead social science now that I've learned. So you can't get a job. So I was like looking at different options, and I do really enjoy like the oats and all of that stuff. And I find business really interesting. So I thought that trying to start just to get a feel for it for like business type things by doing like the social media for West Canada would be a great way to see like feel out if I actually enjoy it or not. And it's turned out to be like really fulfilling and rewarding, and I enjoy it like so much.
Yeah, I mean, I get you. So I studied poli-sci in English in school. So
That's
I
over
know
my
a
head.
whole
I have
lot
no idea
about
what that is.
Shakespeare, right? But you kind of go, what was I thinking? I guess it was fun, but now
Yeah,
what do I
there's a
do with
difference.
that,
At the end of
right?
the day, they're interesting to do. And I'll tell you the truth, like just so you don't knock your degree, right? Because I did a business degree, right? And this is a trillion years ago. The thing is, though, like quite frankly, if I had applicants in front of me that were, let's say, equally as presentable, personable, had some some skill sets, etc., and it was for a position with some of my companies, people I work with, I tend to gravitate toward anybody who wrote a lot more and read a lot more and was in a different discipline sometimes than just strictly business, right? Because you see the world differently. You took some different studies, you did some different learnings and courses. So don't knock it too quickly because an English degree, a poli-sci degree, an anthropology degree, your thought patterns are different, and sometimes we don't need same on same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just to make sure you don't.
I think I get. I mean, I wouldn't give up my degree for anything. I really enjoyed myself. I do think though, you kind of, anytime you have those degrees, you look up at the end of the degree and go,
you make it a little harder for yourself.
Can I write an essay and will somebody give me a job, or like how does this work, right? Like, because anyway, I get it. So so you get out, you start looking around, and then so what about this oats business gets you kind of fired up? Like, why?
Like, so they taste good. So what though? Like, what drives that? Like to want to actually do it?
Mm-hmm. I think that like oats are so delicious, but they're also so versatile, which I think is so cool because you can make like your own oat milk at home or like your own oat flour. So just the versatility of it became like really interesting because there's so many different ways to showcase it. So that's like my goal with doing this stuff for West Canada is like showcasing how versatile like one product can be. And I think that kind of branches out into like other brands as well. Like now I see that passion that lots of people have for it, and it becomes so intriguing because it's almost like its own little community, the like natural health food world. So I think it's super cool to like tap into that through the little work that I do at West Canada.
That's interesting in its own right. I'll tell you why I say that. See, this is where sometimes degrees or how you think or how you've learned changes things. I think for most of us, if we walked into that, it would have been the business of oats. So what I'm trying to do is sell bags of oats. Not necessarily looking at potentially the application of the oats. Like, okay, last thing, just so we're clear, the last two things I would have thought of was making flour at home. or anything with like making an oat milk or like going down the path of that. Like it's oats. What do? Randy? You put them in a bag, 1 kg, 2 kg. You look at the cogs. Can you make any money? You put a price against, we go sell oats.
Kind of where my, like, that's what basically I was thinking, like, okay, I'll give you a certain price and I want to put it in the market. I have my kid who's thinking different ideas that never came to my mind.
I wouldn't even thought of those either, though. And I've been in this for a long time, like you. That's again why I'm always intrigued by, like, yeah, that's not I don't know. Maybe Phil, you would have gone down. I wouldn't have gone down that path. I would just been thinking, how do you sell oats?
Well, no, I mean, sometimes you have to go that route because you just need to inspire other people to come buy your oats, right? But I don't know that I wouldn't be different. I wouldn't have changed. I would have been thinking about volume first, right? I would have been thinking about bags, kilos, what can I sell? And then how do I show people why they should buy more? But I don't think, I feel like, but Kamryn, I feel like I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I feel like you went there first before you got to how do I sell it by the kilos or whatever, right?
Yeah, because like you were saying, on its own, like oats are really boring. Like it's a very boring product to try and sell people, because especially today, like you want to have a brand, not just a company. Like people buy into brands. So I think that, yeah, that's where I first went. Like, how can we get people to want to use it? Then they'll want to buy it.
Randy, you're so lucky because you're a dinosaur like me, man. We'd never have gone down that path.
No, I did, and it didn't occur to me. Like the whole time I'm looking at my selling features of why someone should buy my oats. Purity protocol. They're gluten-free. They're organic. There's no glyphosates. That's all that's in my head.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's what my pitch was. With her, it's totally different. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. Sure, Kamryn, if that's, great. Okay, here, take another bag. What are you going to make today for us, right?
So, Kamryn, how are you talking about it? So, because I haven't been on the Instagram or anything like that of this particular. So, I'll get there. I don't have it on my phone anymore because it's too distracting for me. I get too distracted, so I took it off. Sure. So, Kamryn, when you're talking this, so your angle was, okay, I'm going to come in. Oats are kind of boring. I mean, they're important, they're tasty, and they're good, and we get all that. But I wanna jazz this up and spike it a little bit. So I'm going to start talking about which aspects of it.
So I like to talk mostly about like the application of it. So the first place I went to was Instagram, because like recipe videos are huge. Like it's a huge market on its own on Instagram. So trying to tap into that, because especially for myself, when I'm like scrolling, stuff like a recipe that I have the stuff at home, I can go make that super easy, super delicious. I'm like, yeah, I'll go do that. I'll like the video and maybe I'll tell my friend that, oh yeah, I made this and it was really delicious. So trying to get people talking and trying to get people engaged is kind of my main goal. So with like going to school and stuff, Instagram is just the easiest spot to do that, because you create a 30-second video and you post it and you don't have to think about it, and people will do the rest for you.
So
Bill's probably loving you right now.
No, I'm actually kind of mad at you because, one, I've been eating all day. The last recording I did was with a lady who had easily the best ramen I've ever tasted, ever. And now I'm looking at really amazing posts about peanut like chocolate chip peanut butter oats to go. So thanks a lot, Kamryn. Thanks a lot. Like oat flour pancakes with sauteed pears. Really? I am starving at the moment. Thanks a lot. No, but it's really, it's great. Like, I mean, the Instagram stuff is great. And then I do think there's some creativity there, right? Because you start to think about what you can do different. Honestly, I would never, to me, oats are the thing that my mom used to make that's super pasty and disgusting. And then I made it, and I like to think I made it better, but my kids would have the same feedback, right? Is that, the way down, doesn't matter how much cinnamon you put in it, it was kind of pasty and thick, right? So, but you've kind of taken a new spin to it, which I like.
Especially those muffins. Those muffins look really good. Now, see, I've had to hop on Instagram, Randy.
Well, there you go.
I got it on the computer. I still don't have it on the phone.
Kamryn, that's actually an accomplishment. I don't think you understand because Kenny is not a social media guy at all. He's barely even
Not
social
anymore.
for that matter. But the fact that
really.
you got him on Instagram is kind of an accomplishment.
Oh, thank you.
I'm liking the pumpkin spice one too.
Seriously, sweet potato muffins.
So if I look at what the flour
I
mixed with
just-
West Canada together, I think that's.
Oh.
I guess so. Right now, it's a line of. Is it a line of oats, Kamryn, or does it have the flours as well, or is that the home application side?
So we have the oats. We also have the oat flour and oat bran.
Okay.
So you can use them just as like your regular flour. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio.
Interesting.
So for West Canada, are you doing like mostly socials, or have you kind of started to spread out a little bit more? Have you started taking over the empire yet, or what's happening?
Not yet. I'm still like I'm a full-time student, so it's hard to make the time to do anything besides the social media. Because it's like take half an hour, make the post type thing right now. But I am looking to like go further than that, and like I really want to start stepping up like the demos and the store visits when I have the time.
I like that.
I like that too. That's
Why?
actually pretty cool.
It's different than what I did, that's for sure. Different way of doing things.
Well, it's just yeah, Randy, it really is. And it's funny because the more people, as the older we get, everybody seems to be we're now the oldest in the room. Remember that time when that's long gone?
Well,
Way to go.
you two are the oldest in the room. You
You're
are
not that
definitely
far
much.
behind. You're not that far behind, buddy.
I'm right
Anyway,
behind you.
we'll leave him for a minute. It's just one of those things, though. It's just it's such a different perspective on how to look at something that to me would just seem so rational that, yeah, it's tonnage and how do we move this stuff and whatever, right? It's such a different angle. And to talk about it, not so much from the product as opposed to a brand, and not so much about the actual attributes of the product, but what can the product do for me and my life? I can have breakfast different now because I'm going to do muffins. Where the three of us were talking about remembering, John, how much brown sugar could you put on this to make it taste good?
Yep.
Right? Or how much maple syrup could you actually dump into something to make it taste good? Which sort of defeats the purpose of the oats at that point, the healthy aspect of them, because we've just killed them with a ton of refined sugar.
I have a question for Kamryn. When you started thinking about this or started thinking about it, was it ever on your radar to work with your, like, because you clearly know that your dad works with his dad, right? And so was it something that was kind of always on your radar that you wanted to work with your dad, or not at all? I mean, you went into anthro, so I don't know if you were thinking, I'm gonna get away from this. I'm gonna get away from this life and go do something,
Yeah, I don't want to do anything with this. Anthropology is me.
Yeah, so after the short stint at Nationwide, I was like, I'm never going to do this. I don't really want to work with my dad. Like, it's a lot. But
Not my fault.
Sorry. Did you say your dad is a lot, or that Nationwide was a lot?
Nationwide was a lot. Yeah. Yeah. It was a time, and then I went to school, tried to do something that I was interested in, and then slowly I was like, well, this business, like, it kind of kept nagging at me when my dad was talking about like West Canada. I was like, but there's so much we can do. So I was kind of just offered. I was like, I can do like the social media, like just as like a fun little side hobby. But now it's become such a like passion of mine. I didn't expect it to creep up on me like that. So I had never thought about like going to like post-grad school, but like now I'm thinking about taking business courses when I'm done so that I can explore and see if there's anything else in this sort of field that I'm interested in.
So to add to that, when Kamryn was thinking about coming into West Canada, you guys might know her, Dominica, from Planted Life, and her husband Elgin. They run our nationwide social media. So I was like, hey, Kamryn's looking at doing our social media for West Canada. Do you mind talking to her and kind of give her the groundwork? Because if because if it comes from you, she'll understand it better, rather than coming from me. It's gonna sound like a lecture,
Right.
right? Like, well, I don't want to do that. I want her to come in and be excited to do something with that company, and not feel like, oh, my dad just throwing this at me now, and he just wants like my dad. Like, I didn't want to come across the same way.
No, I get it.
And I try not to. I try, but I'm sure there's times where it probably sounds like I'm a nagging old man. Right?
Well, the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree a lot of times, right?
That's what they say, right? So that kind of helped bridge the gap, I guess, between me and Kamryn by having someone else explain to her
Right.
what I was looking for.
Mhm. Yeah, and Dominica and Elgin are like amazing. Just watching them work and like seeing their work is like so inspiring, because it was around the same time that they had taken over the nationwide social medias that I was like, oh, I can kind of do this too.
That's kind of cool.
That's pretty cool.
It's but like credit where credit due, right, Randy? Like, it's also recognizing, because there are conversations that parents should be having with their kids, and then there's some that
You probably shouldn't.
you're kind of destined to fail, right? Like, there's no, the minute you start talking, you realize like it's going to come out all wrong, and if I didn't mean it for it to come out wrong, it's going to come out wrong anyway.
Yep.
Like, and
It's just going to get worse because I'm going to keep digging.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting.
But I have an opening clause with Kamryn. Like, hey, I don't know how to word this, so I'm just going to say it, and I mean no offense, but just hear me out, right?
Yeah.
And then I just say what I got to say, and I look at, okay, so do you understand where I'm coming from, or do I need to, break it down more? And she's like, no, I think I understand what you're saying. Okay, are we good? Yeah, we're good, right? So we do keep personal life separate from West Canada life.
Okay.
I try.
Also
Too,
interesting.
right?
Yeah.
It's got to be tough because you're in your old world. Those were blended in a lot of ways too, right?
Still is.
So, but how do you do that with your daughter? And maybe Kamryn, you can answer that too. Is that how is the separation between? Sort of
when your dad perceived as separation, is it separation or no? But not making fun of you, legit,
No.
right? Because
No.
what we see
It's
is
tough, guys. I mean, that's why we wanted to do this podcast, because I find it super intriguing when family works together, because I don't think it's easy, and especially when it's parent child.
So, Cameron, I'll go first. That's cool with you. Basically, we've got it in a way where, okay, she's looking after the social media aspect of the business for now. As far as the backdoor stuff goes on, that's all on me. That's my shoulders until she, or even Taryn, for that matter, my other daughter,
Right.
I'm hoping gets involved. I'm trying that way, but that's another conversation, another day,
Story.
right? So when it comes to social media, I always text her either like in the morning or after, like when I think she's out of school, and I'll ask her questions. Sometimes I do it during school hours. I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? And she's like, I'm at school. So I just drop it there. Like, okay, my bad. She'll get your schedule. And if things don't get done, then I question her on like, hey, okay, the weekend is, you're not going to school on the weekend. So what's happening here? Are you doing the course, or what's the plan? And then she'll just tell me what she's doing.
Right.
And then as far as personal life, we just keep that totally separate. But when it comes to business, I just got to pick my moments when to talk about it based on her schedule.
Right. But that's got to be interesting for you too. I'll get to Kamryn in a second, because I don't think your dad gave you those opportunities, right?
It's not. It doesn't.
When he's ready, you're talking. When he's not ready, you're not talking.
Yeah.
So, as parents, modern parents, for lack of a better word, it's the dance around the shit that we wouldn't have been danced around with. Like, when it's time to talk, they're talking. That's it.
Exactly.
And we'll be right back.
Phil,
Yeah, Kenny.
favorite three letters. Come on, Phil. You know it.
O-G-B.
OGB, baby.
OGB. OGB.
And Phil, let's help people out. What does OGB stand for?
It stands for Old Growth Beverages. It is
It gives me a tingle. What the heck? What is old growth beverages, Phil?
Why, I'm so glad you asked, Kenny. It's
That's what
a
I'm here
micro
for.
ground tea. So it's a tea where we take all the tea leaves, we grind them up into fine powder, and it basically takes your process from getting from thirsty, unfulfilled, and wanting a hot, refreshing tea, And it takes that process and it converts you into a happy tea drinker in about 30 seconds. All you need is hot water, a spoonful of microground tea of your choice from OGB. And then if you want to top it up with something, and then all you got to do is sit back, cool it down a little, and enjoy.
I love that, Phil. So is this just tea, or is there what exactly do they have? Because this sounds really intriguing to me.
We've got some wonderful flavors. Some of our most popular flavors are chai and London fog and matcha. But we've got some other wonderful flavors. We've got a dirty chai in there somewhere. We've
Dirty
got a
chai
hot
coffee?
chocolate. Yes, all of these things. And the beauty of all of these is if you want a process where you're kind of like, pouring and steeping tea, you could do that. But sometimes you just need a chance to be able to have a
Quick
nice
and dirty,
cup of
man.
tea,
Just
quick and dirty,
enjoy
right?
right away, right?
That's
and
right.
Drink
That's
all
right.
the benefits of the
That's
tea.
right.
I'll tell you the truth. I mean, I was never a fan of chai, to be frank with you. I love our chai. I absolutely love our chai. I think the spice level's perfect. I love the scent. I love the aromas. I love the taste. I love the way it makes me feel. And I love the fact that I drink all the spices, all the tea leaves, quick swirl at the end, down it all. And if you want that, there's a non-caffeine in our turmeric chai made from rooibos. So there's no caffeine in that one. And if you want some extra caffeine, we have a coffee based in our dirty chai. Same spices, different base, phenomenal.
I'll tell you, I love chai, but I only ever used to get it when I'd go to my friend's house and I would have to pester them to make it, and then I have to wait for them to make it. Now,
That's
I don't have to do that. I get a spoonful of it out of an OGB pouch, and I'm good to go.
Just bring the chai to your friend's house.
I've done that too, and they love our chai as much.
There you go.
And they don't
Keep it
have
simple,
to prep
man.
it. Yeah, they don't have to prep it, which they really love.
Once again, Phil, the three
OGB.
letters. OGB, baby.
OGB.
OGB.
Hopefully you had a minute to go fix yourself an Old Growth Beverages chai or London fog or matcha. If you don't have any, go to www.oldgrowthbeverages.com and order some. But now back to the podcast.
It's interesting. Okay, Kamryn.
Yeah, so we do keep it quite separate. And if I'm being honest, when I'm doing the West Canada work, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm doing this work for my dad. I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing this work because I enjoy it. So it makes it a little bit easier in that regard. It's not like, oh, this is dad's work. It's kind of like, oh, this is like our work in a way.
Right.
So it does kind of bridge that gap where it's not like I'm being like forced to do anything or like no super heavy expectations on it, because like my boss is my dad. Like he knows I'm in school. He knows that there are other things that kind of can take over life. So it's a lot easier than if I was working with someone else, I think.
That's cool.
I look pretty good right now, don't I?
You're looking better than I thought you should be.
You're looking better than we thought you would. Yeah.
I go offline then, so she tell you guys the real truth, because I didn't say a word to her. I go from the hip.
No, she answered that in a very mature way, but it actually sounded truthful. So we're going to give her that one. So you actually don't look as bad as you probably would thought you could look.
Kamryn, does it? I'm always curious about this too. Is like, does it kind of like what you're doing now? Does it look like what you thought it would look like? Right? Because you've definitely been around, Dad and Grandpa doing this. So I'm sure you've seen, your share of moments of the way Dad and Grandpa conflict resolve, right? One way or another. Like, my kids laugh at it when I'm talking to my mom. The kids know I'm talking to my mom, right? And the kids clear out because they know there's always going to be fun for a little bit, and then there's some sparks, and then next thing you know, like, is this kind of the way you thought it would go, or are you surprised by any of it?
I'm a little surprised that it's going so well for so long.
Okay.
But that's just like, because I have seen the way that my grandpa and my dad interact, and it's like a very different relationship, and it's like very obvious for everyone in the office that it's a very different relationship. But we've done a good job of like not resulting to that, which is very good.
Yeah. I think
And that's
that's
good because it's hard sometimes to, what you see is um, well, what you see is sort of what you do. I mean, that's a credit to you too, Randy. I mean, you're obviously a very, I'm not knocking your dad, but you're a very different parent than your dad. It's a different generation and it's a different time, but it's the ability to, take the best things that your father could give, and the stuff that wasn't maybe is what you wanted, you take it out. So you raise your children in a different way.
Well,
I'm
that kind
you
of
come
suck,
across as a
right?
very mature young woman who really seems to have her shit together outside of the anthropology, which I still don't think is a problem. So, I mean, that's good.
It's a
Give
little
credit
different.
to them, I'm
It is
assuming,
different,
so.
definitely, because for me, yes, I'm born here, 100%. But the way I was raised by two Indian parents,
Right.
right? It's very different. Like, there's certain things like you don't have a conversation with your dad. It's whatever he says kind of goes, or your mom, you just listen and go do it. I've got kids of my own now. It's like, okay, you know what? They have their own minds. Obviously, they got to make their own choices. I'm just a safety net. So I'm a safety net for them to see
Right.
they're going to make mistakes. Okay, that's going to happen. Let's help them solve those mistakes, not berate them about their mistakes.
Right.
Right. You got to be flexible, and that's kind of what I'm just taking. As a parent, you learn and grow, right? Yeah, there's certain things my dad's done that I hated as a kid, but I value today.
Right.
Weird, right? Like I told you guys, he's my best friend and my worst enemy. I hold that till that's just the way we are. We have that
Right.
relationship, and everyone knows it, everyone sees it, but it is what it is. With her, I was like, okay, I got to change this because I want to make sure that this goes on. Like, I got to keep my dad's legacy going in some shape or form, whether it's with
Right.
my kids or my nephews or my nieces. Someone's got to step in somewhere. If I
Right.
can convince my kids to do it in a different way, great. If I can't, that's fine too. If West Canada thinks she wants to grow or they want to grow, more power to them. What the flower, same thing, right?
No, fair enough. Fair enough. So, Cameron, let me ask you something. So, from the beginning when you started West Canada, how long's this been? How long you been actually, let's call it, working for West Canada?
I started just around CHFA West.
Right. So it's April-ish, beginning of April, right?
Yeah.
So you're 6 sort of months in, from the time you make the decision to go into it, those first couple months, what have you seen that you didn't think you'd see? What have you learned? Like, what are some of the things that you thought, oh shit, it's going to happen this way, and you're thinking now, oh wow, that didn't really do that. It did something else. Like, because I'm always intrigued to see what you thought this was going to be and what it actually turned out to be.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought it was going to be like super straightforward, like make the post, don't really think about it, but it does kind of like creep up on you, even when you're not supposed like, even when I'm not thinking about work, I'll think, oh, I should have done this like this, and I could probably go in and maybe do this right now, or I can quickly check my emails while I'm like waiting in line at like
oh no.
Starbucks or
It's
something. Like it really
It's
does.
begun.
It
Yeah.
started. The fruit didn't fall too far from that tree either.
It really has. Like it creeps up on me, even when I really just don't want it to. But I'm like, oh, I see that email. I should probably take a look at it. Might not respond, but I should take a look at it so I can think about
Fight it
it.
now, Cameron. Fight it now. Take
got
it from the
time.
three of us. Fight it now, because otherwise bad things happen.
That's true. I'm guilty of that.
Oh, we all are, but that's okay. So that you've noticed, yeah, and I think at least you're laughing and you sound positive about it, because it obviously shows you're enjoying it, at least, right? You're not minding to check things while in line, etc. You're actually kind of mentally, you're obviously there. So
Yeah. And it's definitely been a very big learning curve, especially like over the summer. I signed us up and I bought the booths for us to do the vegan night market.
yeah,
I should not have bought a booth for every day of the vegan night market, which is something I've learned. Maybe try one and then see where that goes.
Yeah.
But I got really excited and I was just like, okay, let's do it. Not the right idea. I know that now. So I'm definitely a lot more cautious, especially as like September's come around, of like doing things like that. There's always lots of people like reaching out because it's very social media heavy for like content creation and like giveaways. So I have to be very like methodical when I'm thinking about that, which I never thought I would have to deal with. Like there's so many of them. Yeah, it's hard to kind of figure out, well, who's like a good fit? Are they just kind of messaging because they want free stuff? Yeah, so it's been lots of learning, but lots of good learning, I think.
Just so you know, that's how we all learned that we shouldn't be somewhere 5 days.
Yeah. The only way to learn
Every
is
single
to
one of
try
us
to
did
do
the
it.
same thing and went, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, what am I, an idiot?" Right? Like, why am I still here? Right? Like,
Yeah, that sounded
Yeah.
like such a good idea last week. Wow, this is the stupidest idea I've had in a long time.
Hmm.
Just so you know, you got a lot more of those coming.
It happens.
Well, it is how you learn, right?
No, exactly. Like one thing she actually took like all like with my website for West Canada Foods, right? She didn't tell you guys, but she looked at it and she goes, "I can do better." I'm like, "Well, then go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. If you can do something for it, do it." So she revamped the whole website herself.
wow.
So I was
Good
very
for
proud
you.
of her for that moment. I was like, "Wow, that's a great job, Kamryn." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, you did a great job."
That's amazing. Good
And
for
if you
you.
scroll to the bottom, Ken, if you go to the very
Yeah.
bottom of that website, you'll see something on the bottom. That's her new company that she's going to start up.
Holy shit! And I got to go to that white page. Jeez, man, you're making me go all over the place. I'm supposed to be paying attention to a podcast.
Ah, I see it. I see you, Kamryn. I see you. I like it. I see where
That was
you're
her
going.
idea, and I said, "Yeah, more power to you. If that's what you want to do, I'll support it, and let me know what I got to do to get it done."
Yeah. And I mean, we're here too. So whatever you need, if I understood it right, like I think if you ever needed someone to bring that off of, as you go through that, let us know. We can definitely help as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
What's the
an
name,
hour to
Kamryn?
find the freaking page.
Live in good marketing.
Oh my dear, you got to give me a
That's
chance.
cool.
That
You know,
is
along the
taking
same
time, but
line,
I'll get there.
along the same. So, because you've done now kind of 6-8 months of social media, are you? You're in school, so maybe you get enough of a break. Do you find any fatigue, or are you finding any? You know, because there's a moment, I think, everyone who does social media, you kind of go, what the F do I talk about now? They're just oats, right? Like, how many ways can I spin this to Sunday, right? Are you feeling any fatigue from the social media and all that stuff yet, or not yet?
I'm feeling it a little bit, especially right now. But I actually partnered with this girl, Georgia, and she is amazing. She does the weekly recipes for us. So it's like a really big help because she comes up with like the cool, like she came up with the sweet potato muffins. I never would have thought of something like that. So
Yeah.
having someone that to bounce ideas off of and can help provide that content, especially while I'm in school, is like amazing and it's super helpful. And I really appreciate it.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. Just honestly, from one social media veteran to another emerging one, is make sure you build enough buffer space that you can step away from it a little. So even if sometimes you gotta push and kind of build out a few posts so you can step away and let your brain check out for a bit, it'll help, right? Because sometimes you need the fresh perspective to see something new, you know?
Yeah.
That makes sense too.
Randy, you did good. She's like this well-adjusted adult human being. That probably used to terrorize your halls and your living room.
No, that's the other one.
Oh, I see.
That's the younger one. That's Taryn.
The one not invited to this podcast. I understand.
She's in class right, or she's going to school right now. But when she decides what she's going to do, well, she's supposed to start next week working in the office as a part-time gig.
Okay.
So I'll see what influence I can rub off on her.
Or
Is
what
she
she
getting
rubbed
the
off
broom?
on you.
Does
Yeah,
anyone
sorry?
get the broom in your house, or nobody gets the broom?
Well, actually, when they were younger, they got the broom, but they
Okay.
made that into a toy than anything else.
Yeah, I'm sure that didn't work out great either.
Yeah.
No.
I'll bet.
No.
So we talked a little bit about West Canada. So where does West Canada go now, Randy? So I get it right now. We got some oats, we've got the flowers, we've got obviously the social media and some of the basic marketing covered. So what's the plan for this with the two of you? And Kamryn, you can ask this too, because your dad will have one set of ideas, and I'm sure you'll have a different take on it.
So with West Canada, the way I'm trying to do things is I'm trying to go to Kamryn, to be honest. I'm asking her, okay, what do you want to see next? What should we come out with next? This is kind of like your baby. You tell me, I'll roll with it. Or if I find something that I like, I had a meeting with somebody today, for example, and I'm going to go back to her with it and say, okay, what do you think? Is something we should pursue or not pursue, and let her make the decision. Because I'm already got my plate full with What the Flower and Nationwide Natural Foods, and then our project that's actually going to be built finally because City Hall approved us. So now we can build our warehouse that's going to be 60,000 square feet. And I can
That's a big size,
get out of this warehouse and go there. Yes.
That's huge.
A lot of basketball courts.
I'm actually going to buy a ball hockey court, tell you the truth.
Well, you're going to have room. Where you're still up in Surrey then? Or you're in Surrey, right? Still up there?
Tilbury Delta. So we'll be in Delta still by Boundary Bay Airport. Where the
Buddy,
airplanes land.
that's a big space.
I can't wait. I'm very
How
excited.
far off is that?
2 years.
2 years. Good for you, man. That's going to be that's a big deal.
Will be. And in that time, we can also, put in a facility to start packing products or repacking, rebagging, or co-packing.
Well, you might as well, right? I mean,
there's space for that as well.
Yeah.
Private label. Of course, I would have, hopefully Kamryn or Karen will look at part of this or both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a lot of things that I've got in the burner of how I want to spin this off. And if my kids come in, great. If they say, no, we're only looking for this piece of the pie, that's great too.
Mine too.
But I got ideas. I ain't going nowhere.
And then you can run some ball hockey tournaments out of the ball hockey rink as well.
Yeah, I could if I start them up.
Yeah.
Well, if you get the two kids in, maybe they'll take some pressure off. You actually can go do some ball hockey.
Well, I could just by that time I'd probably be playing golf. and King's Glitch is down the street from our new warehouse, so that's where I'll be. I think.
That's awesome.
While they slip away.
That's awesome.
Kamryn, I think that was him passing the reins right there.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It is true. I want to.
That's amazing.
Why not?
That's amazing. You guys, thank you for doing this. This is amazing. I really love this conversation. I really appreciate it. I think
I think it's great, and I think it's really cool to see.
The relationship between you two is important. Yeah. We love, because you guys know this, like we love these kind of generational families and the businesses that are run. We think in the Canadian landscape is such a big deal. And nobody talks about what it takes to pass, kind of businesses from generation to generation. So being able to look at even what you guys are doing, and then Randy, I think what you're doing is almost best in class, right? Is you've allowed Kamryn some space to grow and move, and kind of show her where you would love her to be, but giving her space to grow into where she wants to be is
giving her a choice.
Well, it's nice to see that Kamryn took it too, right? So Kamryn, kudos to you too, because sometimes things given are too easy not to, for lack of a better sort of respect or really get behind. Mm-hmm. So, and probably kudos to we'll give your mom more credit for this. Probably kudos to your mom, for raising you the way she did. So you got a whole different, you've got a good work ethic, it appears, which is really nice to see. And I'll give your dad credit for that one too. Actually, we give your grandpa credit for that one too.
Yeah, I should go to him.
Yeah, there's lineage in that one. We know Randy was a little bit of a mess when he was your age, so quite frankly, he's probably more grandpa.
For the record, I was already married by then, so let's just put it on the table there. Don't forget that.
Amazing. That's amazing.
That was awesome, you guys. No, I really appreciate you coming on. Kamryn, thank you for your perspective. And
I do want to know what Kamryn, before we go, because we got her right now, and she's with you guys. I do want to know what her plan is, or what she sees for West Canada, or what's next.
Well,
Because
that's
I haven't
good.
asked that
I'd love to
question.
know.
Since you guys asked, I want to hear it as well.
Okay.
Ooh, it's a bit of a tough question. I do really want to like expand because we're not really in the East. I think that is like the next big step because
Right.
our whole thing is like Canadian grown oats, but we're not in all of Canada. So I think we have to make our way that way, and hopefully that'll be soon. But yeah, I don't have too many big plans right now, but that's probably the main one that I'm looking at.
So expansion across the country, do you think there's room for an expanded line, whether it's, I'm not just throwing it, you don't have to answer, but staying in oats, trying something different, doing more oat things, like, what are you thinking?
I think that like the single serve oatmeal packs could be like a good idea. I mean, there is lots of them, so maybe try
Right.
to find a way to like re-innovate it. Could be interesting or like an avenue to explore.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's I don't know, what's always interesting to me, maybe because all we do is look at Canadian businesses, but I also see a lot of, you know, new Canadian companies who are incorporating oats in all the things they do. The guys that we love a lot out in Halifax, Made Local, right? They've got cereal bars and stuff like that. Like, I wonder if, you know, because Kamryn, one of the things you are doing a lot of is partnerships, right? And so I wonder if that's an interesting play for you guys, is to partner with companies like that also use oats for other things, right? You know,
And build the Canadian oat kind of thing.
yeah, like not a straightforward line, but kind of cool too, right? So
Yeah.
interesting. Actually, you know what Kamryn told us before the show, Randy, is that she's under NDA because she's selling the company. She can't tell you yet, so there's a divestiture. You know, so she's coming back on a fast thought next week, and
Okay. Sounds good.
But she didn't say she was sharing, Randy. She said we told the company was moving.
yeah, she's not actually at home. She's in a non-extradition country. She doesn't want to give it away because as soon as you find out, you'll try and hunt her down, and she wanted to be as far away as she could. So,
Well, the room is her own country, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, we know that one too, buddy.
yeah, we do.
We know that one too.
You guys, thank you so much for coming on. This is
Thanks a lot,
amazing.
guys.
That was a lot of fun.
We love having you on. So anytime you guys have updates, you know, jump back on.
Yeah, if there's something neat and cool coming around CHFA next, let
Well,
us
there's
know.
that, and we have What the Flower, which is part 3 of what my little venture is. So
What
if
the
you're interested,
flower?
I'll bring it. Well, yeah, I'll bring on my partners as well, so you can hear from them as well. 'Cause there's 3 of us involved.
That'd be kind of cool just
Love
to
that.
see like why. It's to us, it's always the same. Like, why do it? Which is why we sort of went down the path of Kamryn. Like, I mean, outside of the fact it's dad and whatever, but you got to still like it. You still got to have a passion or a reason. So yeah, we'd love to do that one.
Sounds great, guys.
If you want to come back on because you don't want to have Randy kicking around, your dad kicking around, then you just shoot
We
us.
can do that too.
We'll make that happen as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
She'll bring Karen with her. There you go.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys have a nice day. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much,
You
guys.
guys-
Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Phil, you stick around, and the two of you, we'll see you later. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you.
Now, it's a very sweet relationship. It's very nice, right? And and if you want to, you got to listen to Randy's podcast because Randy's upbringing is a lot different than Kamryn's, and the relationship with the father-son, father-daughter is quite different. And yet, the work ethic has definitely flowed through. Her curiosity has definitely flowed through. Her drive to be that entrepreneurial thing is driving through. So it's funny. A lot of this stuff just seems to be hardwired, right? It's not, may not be necessarily the environment all the time. It's just a wiring issue, right? I mean, it seems that's 3 generations there, right? Very cool. I love that. I love the family one things. I think it's awesome.
I couldn't find his episode. I don't know where it is.
Did it in January?
I don't know. Anyway, I will find it. I'll put it in the link in the show notes so you guys.
I'm pretty sure it's January.
But yeah.
It's worth it, because I think if you listen to that, like when you guys get the chance to listen to this, because it'll be out in a couple of weeks, is listen to this one, and then go back and listen. You'll in the dynamics of the two generations, or the three generations, how they interact is remarkable.
It's really cool.
Completely different worlds. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody.